Here's one of your superpowers as listed from Mr. Jim. Creating and sustaining a wonderful, intimate partnership with Matt, her husband and lover, since they were teenagers. Have her talk about the risks she and they were willing to take to keep the relationship alive and vital, growing and intimate. If you are game to talk about that, I would be very interested
Yeah.
to hear more.
Well, it's a challenge. It's both a great gift to be with a partner. Since you were young, get to grow up together. There's a lot of shared memories and shared friends, and there's a sweetness that it started out with you get to keep. And there's also a great challenge of the fact that we are different people who evolve and change. And so, several times, at least three key times in our relationship, we've been willing to let it all go. And we've basically killed it off, just said the relationship as it was is done. Now let's just check and see, is there a relationship? What is the relationship that wants to happen moving forward? Maybe it's just friends, co-parents, maybe it's lovers, staying married. What is it? And so we have a lot of courage, both of us, to be willing to let go of what's not working and trust that the right form of the relationship will reveal itself. And it just so happens that it continues to be us married. And I think, we play around often. Sometimes we'll get up in the morning, I'll say something like, hey, you want to be married today? And he'll say, well, what would that mean? What kind of a husband do I need to be? And we'll giggle and play around with, well, how about this and this? And then we choose. And it is, for me, we're always choosing over and over again. And we always are willing to kind of to the point of using the work with Byron Katie of, I'm willing to open to the possibility that not being married is just as okay as being married. And what that has created is an incredibly vital, creative, ever evolving, passionate marriage in which we're freed up to keep exploring new ways of being together. And I am really proud of my relationship. I think it's one of the greatest things I've ever done is the marriage that I have. We get a lot of feedback that it's an inspiring marriage to a lot of people who look to it. And I do think it comes with the courage to say no.
You mentioned at least, I think you said 3 times that you've had this type of conversation. I would like to zoom in on the first conversation. Were you both already prepared and trained to initiate that type of conversation? Did one side initiate the, hey, let's decide if we want to remain as is or if we want to take one of these other forms? I'm just wondering, for
Yeah,
people who are listening who have never had one of these conversations, maybe they've been at the breaking point, but they've never had this conversation.
I initiated it. It wasn't Matt's idea. I said, hey, this isn't working for me the way we're in relationship. And there's a different kind of a man I want to be with than than uh than how you are. And I want something, I want another possibility. And so I didn't know how to do all this. I was just toddling around trying to figure this out. And I said, I don't want to do it this way anymore. And so I thought that might mean that we needed to be separated and that we needed to end the marriage. And I was willing to. We actually got some support from counselors about telling our kids that we were going to divorce because that's the only direction it seemed like we were going to go. And then I had this great advice from a friend who said, okay, Diana, I love you both. If you think divorce is what needs to happen, that's great. But I hear you complaining that there's a certain man you want him to be that he's not. And she said, who is the woman you would need to be to call forward that man? And my stomach dropped. And I thought, ugh, I don't know about that. What? And I realized, oh, I would need to be a different woman. So we said, let's kill off this old marriage and let's see if we can create a new one. And I'm going to keep asking myself, who do I need to be to call forward the man I want to be with? And about 6 months later, I was with the man I wanted to be with. And I remember saying to him, "You really changed." And he said, "No, you really changed." and and the truth is we both really changed. But I was really grateful for that first conversation of getting being willing to let it go and then getting the feedback of, "Hey, if you're the creator of of who's showing up over there, who do you need to be?" And for many months, I felt like I was going to throw up 24/7, learning to be a much more vulnerable, needy woman who called forward the man who, could protect and lead in a way that I hadn't been willing to be in the past.
Hmm. How did you, thank you for sharing all this, by the way,
Hmm.
and very courageous and vulnerable. And how did you figure out who you needed to be, who that woman was to call forth the version of your husband or the man who you wanted to be with? Did you have help? Was it obvious once you sat with it in terms of the changes that needed to be made on your side or the things you needed to cultivate or drop? How did you arrive at the answers?
At first, I didn't know. I just knew I was really scared when I asked the question. And so I knew that my fear, I believe that fear is, when we're present, is an intelligence that says something needs to get learned. Something needs to get learned. So when I had that fear, I thought, oh, wow, something needs to get learned. I don't know something here. And so that was my first clue that her question was powerful, is the fear that arose in me. And then I just kept asking the fear, what needs to be learned? I just kept being really broad in that curiosity. I got into a state of wonder. I wonder who I would need to be to call forward the man I most want to be with. I just kept asking that. I wonder. And I let it be okay that I didn't have to know, because I didn't know. I've been, with him for a long time and I didn't know. So I had to be willing to listen and learn from something greater than my own experience so far. And so it
Mm.
was in that level of curiosity that I just found my way. And it was just baby steps, a little bit here, a little bit there. And that's happened actually we've had several versions of that often, or not often, but the three versions were all some version of me. Something needs to get learned for the next evolution here of this
Mm.
relationship.